What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this week you're actually going to get 2 Shop Talk Tuesdays. I know you're probably thinking, how do you get 2 Shop Talk Tuesdays? What's going on? I'm not releasing 2 videos on Tuesday. I'm going to do 1 video on Tuesday and 1 video on Thursday, and what it's going to be about is the video you're watching right now is going to be based on a few questions that I've been asked lately, and I kind of wanted to go throwback Shop Talk Tuesday where y'all actually ask me a question and I try and answer it on the Shop Talk Tuesday episode. Now on Thursday I'm going to actually show y'all the heat treat process for the Ferris Wraps knife, so you're still going to get that this week, but for today I wanted to answer a question that I've been asked multiple times on different forums, whether it be the Facebook page, the comment section, and emails. I've been asked, what happened? Why have you switched from the 1x30 sharpening setup to your 2x72? Is there pros and cons to doing either? What's going on? What was the reason for the transition? Now, when it comes down to the way that I sharpen my knives, I do it, I wouldn't say different than other people. I don't use the stone method. I don't do sharpening stones. I don't have the Lansky setups or any of those little, sharpening stone style sharpeners. I don't do that. I just use the belts and the leather strops, whether it be in belt form or the one that's screwed down to the workbench right now. And that's just my personal preference. You can sharpen your knives however you want to sharpen your knives. That's how I tend to sharpen my knives. Now, when it comes to me utilizing the 1x30, I did that for a really long time because I had a whole lot of those sharpening belts, but I'm to a point now to where I had to order a new set of belts and a new leather stropping belt. The leather stropping belt stretches over time and you can only use it for so long. So anytime that I get to the point to where I need to reorder another leather stropping belt, I just order a whole new set of belts as well. There are 600, 800, and 1000 grits. Those are typically the grits that I use whenever I use my 1x30, and I needed new ones. So I decided, I've had these other belts that I've only used a couple of times for the 2x72. I've had the 600, 800, and 1000 grits for that, and I've been wanting to switch to the leather stropping setup that I have right here for a little while now. So I decided, why not try both? So that's why I'm doing that. Now, when it comes to sharpening with either one of these systems, I'm going to end up bringing y'all down and we're going to talk about them. I've got them both side by side right here. I'm going to talk about the different ways that I sharpen on both of them, because if you've seen it, typically whenever I sharpen, well, before we do that, let's bring you down so I can point at what I'm talking about. Alright, so we have both of our 2 belt sander / belt grinders that we have here. Now, with the 1x30, you typically see me whenever I go through and I sharpen on this, you'll see me use just the platen area. So behind here we've got our, let me actually take this belt off. We've got our platen that goes all the way across here, and I'll typically just use this area to sharpen, versus whenever I'm using the 2x72, I set the bevel with this, and then so after I do the main bevels here, I'll do with a cutting edge bevel, and I'll do that on the platen, and then when it comes time to fine sharpen it, you'll see me move up to the area on top here. And the reason behind that is I like the little bit of slack area right here for whenever I'm sharpening and I'm getting the finer grits on there. So I'll typically use the platen and a 400 to 600 grit belt, grind in that edge, and then come up here and just use the little bit of slack area. There's not a ton of slack, but it's just a little bit of give, and it just lets me get a nice edge and create a nice burr on there. I don't like doing that on this one because whenever we try to get into this little area, there's not much slack, there's a bunch of stuff in the way, so I don't tend to do that. I'll tend to just use the platen here for this. Now, when it boils down to it, on this, I'll still end up doing a lower grit on one of these to cut in that bevel. So I still always use this to cut in the bevel, and then I just do 600, 800, and 1000 grit to refine the bevel and get a good burr on there. But whenever I'm on this, all I got to do is a rougher grit, and then sometimes I'll only do 800 and 1000. That's it, and I'll leave it there. Now you'll see me do two different things here. On this one, I'll just dip the steel in water as I'm going, but on this one, I actually take and I spray the belt with Windex as it's spinning around, and it keeps it from gumming up as I'm sharpening. Now, you don't have to do that. You could just use water if you wanted to. I use Windex. It's a personal preference. But when it comes down to it, you can sharpen either way you want to do it. I will tell you that sharpening a big recurve knife on a platen this wide is a little bit harder than on a platen that's only 1 inch wide that we have down here. This is quite a bit easier. So I tend to like doing it this way better. But I'm going to talk to you about one thing. My camera's about to run out of memory, so we're going to pause for a second. And now we're back. So one of the things that I like to think about is, am I going to be able to do these things with different tools? I'm not always going to have a 1x30 to be able to sharpen things with, so I need to be comfortable with sharpening on my 2x72. And I am actually getting a stone system as well, so that I can get comfortable with that, because there's going to be times whenever I can't use this and I can't use this, so I'm going to have to use the stone system. For me, I would rather be able to utilize all these different techniques just in case I need to do it. So I ran out of the stuff that I needed to use for this, so I switched to this. And I practiced with it to figure out exactly how I needed to angle things, and then I use this. Now you'll see me eventually go back to this, maybe a stone thing, but it's all about getting used to utilizing all the tools at your disposal, and I'm a big fan of that. Now I'm going to talk about that more here in just a second, but one of the things that you'll have to get used to if you're going to use something like this and go up into the slack, I'm going to change the angle one more time. So whenever you're coming up here, because this is the only area that's a little bit different than if you were going to utilize a 1x30, this is simple. You can either go this way or you can go this way, but you're only going to be messing around with one area. If you come here to do this, you're going to go this way or you're going to go this way, and you really only have to focus on that angle and being consistent. Now whenever you come up here into this slack area, you've got to think about a couple of things, because you need to keep it nice and sturdy and nice where it needs to be, because what's going to happen is you can accidentally press too hard and then you give yourself a convex edge. We're just going through and bringing it across, barely putting any pressure on there. We're not pressing down into this and creating a whole bunch, sucking up that slack. We're just letting the belt do its job. So we're just dragging it across, dragging it across. We're not doing anything very intense. We're letting the belt spin freely and just kind of come across, polish that edge, and create a nice burr. You're not doing this and wrapping it around your blade here, because like I said, you'll start convexing this edge as opposed to giving yourself a nice clean edge with a nice clean transition between your bevels and your cutting edge. Now I will tell you, if you are doing a zero edge knife, like a chef's knife or something like that, you can actually lay the belt almost all the way down, lay the blade almost all the way down onto the belt, and just let it fall off the edge there. Just let it spin and skate straight off the edge while basically sanding this whole entire thing down into it, and you'll get a nice convex bevel on there that goes all the way from here down, and it will leave you with a nice super sharp edge. One of the other things that you can do, and I've seen this on a few different people's videos, I say people's videos, these were actually videos that knife makers made for like different commercially type things, but they actually took their, let's see here, let's see if I've got one of these belts here. So they took one of their Scotch-Brite belts and actually cut it the size of their platen and glued it to the face of their platen, so that whenever their belt slides over this, it's got a little bit of give to it. You'll see people that'll do it with leather. You'll see people who will do it with the Scotch-Brite pad right here, so that you can easily press in a little bit and it gives some, so that whenever you're using those finer grits to clean up things, it's just a nice softer backing and it's not as chattery as if you're using a flat steel platen or something like that. So just something to think about that you can do there. You could put a piece of leather here, you could put the Scotch-Brite belt, just cut it, glue it in place, whatever you want to end up doing, and it'll just give you a little bit of a backer, but something that you can push into and clean bevels out and smooth transitions between lines without digging in so hard into the blade. But I'm going to go ahead and pop y'all up here because I want to talk to y'all about something else too. Alright guys, so like I said a second ago, I don't want y'all to get stuck into only doing one thing in your shops. Branch out, try different things. You know, I had been sharpening on my 1x30 for like a year and a half, and then one day I needed to use the 2x72 to sharpen, and I figured out that my 2x72 is actually a lot better for doing my zero edge chef's knives, so my knives that don't have that secondary bevel for the sharpening edge. The 2x72 is perfect for doing those. Now my 1x30 is great at knives that have a real deep recurve, or my EDC knives that have that hardcore secondary bevel. 1x30 is great for that, but for zero edges, the 1x30 is not that awesome. So, you know, I just happened to branch out and try something different, and I figured out that when it comes to chef's knives, I'm going to sharpen them on the 2x72 from now on. But my EDC knives, I'm pretty much going to sharpen purely on my 1x30. So I've got both things because I decided to not just go, well, I don't have my 1x30 sharpening system right now, so I can't sharpen knives. I said, I still got to sharpen knives, so we got to figure out what's going to work here. And I had the higher grit belts, tried it out, it worked out, and now I've got a new process that just works. So don't be afraid to branch out. Don't be afraid to try something different. You know, don't get stuck in a rut. Just, if you got to do your job, you got to do something, you figure out what's going to work, and maybe you'll learn a new skill or a new process because you decided to push forward and not just stop. There you go. Now guys, when it comes to this Thursday's video, like I said, we are going to be heat treating the Ferris Rest knife. Now, the heat treating process for a knife like this is actually pretty simple. But in that video, I'm going to explain to you why using a file as your first knife material or your first knife steel is going to be one of the easiest things that you can do. And I think that from this point forward, if you're a new knife maker, you might actually try and use a file or a Ferris rasp because of that video, because of how simple it's going to be and the way I'm going to break it down for y'all. So that's going to be this Thursday. Make sure you check that out. Now guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. At 25,000 subscribers, we are doing a giveaway. So I'm going to be doing the giveaway, like I said in the last video, for the Nesmith knife, the one that we forged out of a scrap piece of 1084. Now guys, hopefully y'all are excited about that. It's an awesome knife. A lot of people showed interest in that knife, so somebody's going to be the lucky winner of that. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.